Reason number 1. Cornetto Trilogy movies are written and directed by Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright wrote Ant-Man, but got fired because Marvel thought the project was getting weird. Which doesn't make any sense because they let Shane Black get weird as hell with Iron Man 3. Reason number 2. Cornetto Trilogy movies take place outside the US, so you rarely see any of the stereotypes made famous by Hollywood when it comes to minorities. But as soon as Marvel gets their hands on one of his screenplays, they cast black people in the worst roles you could find. Reason number 3. Although the main characters aren't always the best role models, Cornetto Trilogy movie main characters have never been convicted of a felony. Shaun's shirt may be dirty, but his record's clean. Nick puts other people behind bars, not himself. And Gary almost got arrested, but he left the scene of the crime and let his best friend take the blame.
At which point you made a miraculous f***ing recovery and ran off into the night, leaving me to get arrested.
Ant-Man did hard time in prison and he visits jail on a regular basis. It makes sense because you are who you hang out with. All of Ant-Man's friends try their hardest to convince him to take shortcuts in life and just steal from people. In the other Edgar Wright movies, there's always at least one voice of reason in the group. Liz is the moral compass in Shaun of the Dead, everyone but Gary are the voice of reason in The World's End, and Nicholas is the angel in Hot Fuzz, pun intended. Reason number 5. All the Cornetto Trilogy movies have an ice cream reference, but the Cornetto brand is an inside joke to the audience, and nobody understands the Baskin-Robbins joke in Ant-Man. It looks like they just squeezed it in there for product placement.
Baskin-Robbins always finds out, bro.
Speaking of the Cornetto ice cream, Cornetto Trilogy movies are standalone films that are part of a bigger cinematic universe. Although the actors play different characters each time, all of the movies are joined together to form a trilogy. But you're not constantly reminded because the writing and storyline are good enough for the films to stand on their own. Ant-Man is part of the MCU franchise, and since the story is sort of generic at times, they keep reminding you that it's part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe to get you to like it more. Reason number 7. Cornetto Trilogy movies has a main character that DJs or has a great taste in entertainment. Shaun has great taste in music, and we get a chance to check out his playlist in this scene. Gary has everyone in the car bobbing their heads when he puts on his mix, and even though it's DVDs and not music, Butterman picks the movies for movie night, and all of the films that he picks are critically acclaimed masterpieces. Scott's taste in music sucks, and he has to rely on the DJ to get the party hype. Reason number 8. All Cornetto Trilogy movies has a wooden gate scene. The character is supposed to get from one side of the fence to the other in a way that tells you about his characteristics without saying a word. Shaun is prideful, and his fence scene represents pride comes before the fall. Nick makes it over not just one, but multiple fences because he's an overachiever. And Gary, the alcoholic, stumbles over his fence like he's stumbling through his life. Scott makes it over the fence, but he gets caught by the police, which is inconsistent with the sly, intelligent cat burglar character he's supposed to be portraying. The last names of these characters also tells you a little bit more about their characteristics. Nick's last name is Angel because he thinks he could do no wrong. Gary's last name is King, and that's why he thinks he could boss his friends around. And from Shaun's DJ poster, we learn his last name is Riley, which makes perfect sense because he doesn't worry about anything and has a carefree existence. Ant-Man's last name is Lang, which doesn't mean anything. Reason number 10. Age ain't nothing but a number in the Cornetto Trilogy movies. The older you are, the more dangerous you are. All of the senior citizens in these films pose a major threat to the main characters and are a force to be reckoned with. In The World's End, Gary is the oldest one in his clique, and the group nominates him as the leader because of his wisdom and courage. In Ant-Man, we're taught that old people suck. Pym got fired because he was too old to work at his own company, and when he punched Darren, it makes it seem like the old man is no threat to anyone. Reason number 11. The people in the Cornetto Trilogy movies are supposed to be hard workers and never get fired. Gary never got a job, but all of his buddies do, and they're good at what they do, so they never get fired. Shaun hates his job, but he's temporarily promoted to temporary manager. Nick single-handedly lowers the crime rates in the cities he patrols, but in Ant-Man, he sucked at his job when he got fired from VistaCorp, and he sucked at his job at Dairy Queen and got fired there too. Reason number 12. You're supposed to feel sorry for the main characters in the Cornetto Trilogy movies because they're always having girl problems. Shaun gets dumped for forgetting to set the reservation for his and his girlfriend's anniversary. Nick gets dumped by his girlfriend for being married to his job. She leaves him for her coworker.
Hello there.
Gary slept with Sam when they were younger, but when they're older, she tells him she's not interested and was always more interested in Steven. You don't feel sorry for Scott Lang because he actually gets the girl, so you feel sorry for Hope instead. Ladies, ladies, if I told you that I wanted to hook you up with my friend, and he was a really nice guy, but the only thing was he just got out of prison, is a couple of years behind on child support payments, and he steals from old people for a living, would you be interested in starting a relationship with the guy? Exactly. Reason number 13. Cornetto Trilogy movies have characters who show a great deal of respect for mothers. Shaun is a mama's boy and gets his mother flowers. All of the guys are ready to beat down Gary when they find out he lied about his mother dying. And with Nick,
You mothers.
he's a gentleman and makes way for the mothers during the chase. In Ant-Man, Scott doesn't pay child support because he doesn't care about this mom. And Pym couldn't have cared about Hope's mom too much, which is why he let her go on that suicide mission. Reason number 14. The father figures in these movies are misunderstood, but one thing's for sure, they respect and love their children. Pete's dad loves him so much, they run a father and son business together. Philip was always tough on Shaun when he was a kid.
Did you know that on several occasions he touched me? That wasn't true. Made it up.
However, there was a method to his madness, and him and Shaun share a heart-to-heart in the car before he dies when Philip tells Shaun he just wanted him to be the best man he could be. Butterman's father is a murderer, but he's not a deadbeat dad. So much so that when his son has the opportunity to kill him, he changes his mind because you're not supposed to shoot strong father figures in the back. Ant-Man is a bad role model and doesn't take care of his children, and the stepfather is even worse and can't mind his own business. He tries to replace Lang and won't let him see his daughter. And when that doesn't work, he hates on Ant-Man and tries to put him behind bars. Reason number 15. Everyone always says that Marvel has a villain problem. One reason is because their villains are politer than Mr. Rogers. Instead of being a man and standing up to Pym and his daughter, Darren works in secret. That never happens in these Edgar Wright movies because the villains are about that life and they want you to know they're bad and there's nothing you could do to stop them. Shaun's mom gets bit and she wishes somebody would be stupid and stand up to her. Guy Shepherd tells the good guy that he's evil early in the movie because he's confident they're still not going to be able to escape. And the bad guy in the hot fuzz snitches on himself within the first 15 minutes.
I'm a slasher and I must be stopped.
Reason number 16. The villains in these Edgar Wright movies are always tougher because it's an army and you're not really sure if everyone is going to be able to make it out alive. The villain in Ant-Man sucked and got killed by science. Reason number 17. In Edgar Wright movies, people are way more polite. When they hit you with a car, they stop to check to see if you're okay. When they hit you with a vehicle in Ant-Man, it's on purpose and they're trying to kill you. Reason number 18. T.I. and the crazy guy from The Dark Knight are bad actors in Ant-Man, and so is the villain. There's bad acting in the Cornetto Trilogy, but it's part of the joke. The girl from the play only got the job because she's sleeping with the director, so it's supposed to be funny. The guys are supposed to be acting natural, but their acting is horrible because they're scared, and it's supposed to be funny. And the bad actress teaches everyone how to act like a zombie, but their acting sucks because their teacher is a bad actress, so that's funny too. Reason number 19. In these Edgar Wright movies, the characters live on the wild side and no protective headgear is ever used to protect them from danger. Pym and Lang aren't about that life, and Pym warns Lang to always wear a helmet.
One isn't protected by a specialized helmet. Can affect the brain's chemistry.
Reason number 20. The authorities in the Cornetto Trilogy movies are usually really lenient and let you get away with a lot more stuff. The soldiers shoot up the bar, but they let the rest of the zombies live and contribute to society. Other than Nick, the cops in Hot Fuzz let you get away with almost anything. And with no brake lights and no license, the cop in The World's End lets the boys off the hook. Reason number 21. Cornetto Trilogy movies have a foreshadowing scene that warns you of what's to come. Ed tells Shaun plans for their day tomorrow, and it's basically a play-by-play of everything that will happen in the movie. The detectives tell Nick that everybody and their mums is packing, and that turns out to be true by the end of the movie. In The World's End, the opening narration dialogue foreshadows the rest of the events in the movie, since the film is a rehash of the opening narration, and the names of the pubs foreshadow the events that will take place in that pub. In Ant-Man, they foreshadow too, but it's lazier with the Wasp outfit in the post-credit scene that foreshadows that she'll suit up in the sequel. Reason number 22. Women always have stronger roles and are more integral to saving the day in the Cornetto Trilogy. Yvonne arrives with soldiers to save Shaun and his girlfriend at the end. In Hot Fuzz, when Inspector Butterman makes a run for it, a helicopter arrives and it's Doris that's the one that puts him away for good. And in The World's End, Sam is the getaway driver that saves the rest of the guys at the end. In Ant-Man, Hope's dad doesn't even trust her enough to wear the suit, and the one time she does have a chance to prove herself during the Mexican standoff, she takes her gun off of Darren and lets him shoot her father. Reason number 23. The bad guys never die in the Cornetto Trilogy movies. They always find a way to coexist with the good guys. The villains in Shaun of the Dead become functioning members of society, and Shaun's best friend even becomes his pet technically. The bad guys in Hot Fuzz are sent to prison, and although humans are extremely prejudiced against blanks, they still find a way to coexist.
Can we all just get along?
Not in this movie. Reason number 24. At the end of all the Cornetto Trilogy movies, it shows a flash forward where you find out what happens a year or so later. You have to wait for the sequel to find out what happens in Ant-Man. And those are 24 reasons these movies are different, so truth or dare, like and share, leave a comment under there. If you don't, that's not fair. This thing took a week to prepare. But I'm not a rapper though.
Best elevator music I've ever heard.